This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now! I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh. We end today's show with civil rights leader Bishop William Barber, who's calling for more awareness and justice for disabled people following his ouster from Greenville, North Carolina movie on Christmas week. He said AMC staff confronted him over his use of a specialized chair he carries with him and needs to use due to an arthritic condition he's had for decades. The Reverend was attending a screening, the premiere of The Color Purple, with his 90-year-old mother the day after Christmas. The new musical adaptation of Alice Walker's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel had the second biggest Christmas Day opening of all time. Some of the original 1985 film was shot in North Carolina. The new film features the North Carolina actor Fantasia Barrino Taylor as Celie, reprising the role she played on Broadway. Bishop Barber says the staff refused to allow him to use his chair in the theater's disabled section. Instead, they called the police to have him removed. Two officers arrived to escort him out of the movie theater as the trailers played. Bishop Barber shared with us a video of the incident. This is a part of it.
I want to take you out.
I cannot go out.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, you are removed the property, and I'm going to take you out, and I'll charge you on my car. That's fine.
If you want to take me out and leave the property, then I'll do that.
Yep, that's what I want to do.
I do it all the time.
He's been on Broadway.
I do it all the time. I've been on Broadway.
Broadway with this
Come here, y'all.
The White House.
I've been on Broadway.
At the White House.
I've been at the White House with this chair. They've called an officer of the law.
So that was Bishop Barber being escorted out of the theater last Tuesday, the day after Christmas. He says his removal was a violation of the 1990 Americans with Disabilities Act. AMC Theater released a statement that the company apologized to Barber and his family, and AMC chairman and CEO Adam Aron met with Barber this week. We'll ask him about that meeting in a minute, but first I want to turn to Bishop Barber's press conference from Friday when he shared with the world what happened to him when he took his 90-year-old mother to see The Color Purple.
This week was going to be our time of reminiscing, knowing, Bishop Lowe, that this would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You know, movie doesn't stay in the theater forever. It has a season, and then other movies come along. It won't be in the theater next Christmas. Right? This was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. The original plan was to see the movie on Christmas Day, but then we chose the matinee, and truthfully, I knew it would be so many people there, and I know, you know, she's slower now, I'm slow, so I asked her would she mind doing matinee, not in the evening when most people come, but 1 o'clock, you know, 2 o'clock in the day, 3 o'clock. On Saturday, this coming Saturday, we're having a major celebration of her birthday, even though she was born in November. And on Saturday, in Piney Woods, a place most of you in the media may or may not know about, it's one of the few free communities that was always with free black folk, mulatto, black, and Native Americans in eastern North Carolina. And on that day, we're gonna sing, and she said she wanted anybody in the community to come free food, free music, and the governor has decided to give her the Order of the Longleaf Pine for her years of service in this state. So this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This week was planned out. See the movie this week, this time, enjoy the reminiscing, and then on Saturday to have this big gathering at home, outside, under tent, we have the tissue. And then I had to get back on the road because I've got to preach on Sunday evening for a National Watch Night service in Winston-Salem. Excuse me. But our plans were interrupted when the managers of the AMC Theater here in Greenville chose to call the police rather than accommodate my visible disability. For more than 30 years now, I've suffered from a form of arthritis that's a rare, but one of the most dangerous forms, debilitating forms, called ankylosing spondylitis. Most of you in here, I've never talked to you about it. All you just see me doing is pushing on through. I walk now with 2 canes. I have to carry a high chair with me everywhere I go because my hip is fused, part of my neck and spine, and I cannot bend to sit in a low chair nor rise from a low position.
For more, we are joined by Bishop Barber. He's joining us today from Indianapolis, Indiana, because he always is on the road. President and senior lecturer, Repairers of the Breach, founding director of the Center for Public Theology and Public Policy at Yale Divinity School. Bishop Barber, welcome back to Democracy Now! Under these terrible circumstances and always. You just met with the head of AMC, the largest movie chain in the world. Can you talk more about what happened? Here you're about to celebrate your mother's 90th birthday, and the managers come and call the armed police and security guard to haul you out because you've got a chair you've sat in everywhere from the White House to a prison cell to accommodate your disability?
Yes, Amy, you know, it's quite absurd and tragic, not just for me, but what continues to happen to persons with disability. You know, the ADA came about because people refused to move and were arrested, and all kinds of things happened to them. 3 officers, 1 security guard and 2 police with guns, and the police actually treated me better than the managers. You know, I'm not ashamed of having a disability. In the Bible, Moses had a disability, Paul had a disability, Jesus was acquainted with sorrow. Down through history, God has used a lot of people with disabilities, from Fanny Crosby, who was blind but wrote hymns, and Isaac Watts, who wrote Joy to the World but had pain all of his life, Roosevelt, who had polio, and Wilma Rudolph, who had polio, and John Kennedy, who was ailing, Fannie Lou Hamer. The list goes on and on, but I'm ashamed of going to a place in my own hometown and basically being stopped at the door and being told that my chair, not where I place it. In fact, I've been in the same theaters before, as you said, noted, from the Vatican to the White House to prisons with this chair. But the chair was not going to be allowed because it was a fire hazard when it's not where you place it. I always choose theaters that have the handicap cutout areas where you put wheelchairs or any other. It's a specially cut out area where they put no other chairs there. And they're being told by the persons, well, go get a doctor's note and come back. As though getting a doctor's note, if it was a violation of a fire hazard, why would a doctor's note change that? Or being told, we know who you are, but you're still not going to come in here with this chair. And then for them to call the police, and because I debated them and I had my right to challenge them, that there was this loud, boisterous, big black man, I guess, and that I was trespassing, and they wanted me arrested for trespassing. And then when the officers came to suggest that to move me or to arrest me, they'd have to empty the theater, which is why I went out, because I wasn't going to disrupt everybody else's day. But I think about all the other people in the world, people who don't get up and try to enjoy public accommodation because of their fear. And the law says you have to reasonably accommodate. You have to try to accommodate. There was no attempt to accommodate. There was an attempt to say no, period, end of story. You're not coming in. And in my hometown, of all the things we have to be fighting at this time, war, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, a fight for voting rights, to fight for living wages, to fight for health care, that these 2 managers would choose to fight me, to fight somebody who has a visible disability and say no to me going in and watching a movie that's about triumph and family, which is why my mother really wanted to see it on that day. She's 90. I don't know how much longer she'll be with me, with us. But, you know, and her question was simply this, and with tears, why? And, you know, she fought for openness and fought for civil rights. Why is it that 2 persons, and it doesn't matter what color they are, You know, we were even told, well, you should have called in advance. First of all, the law does not say that. You don't have to call in advance. But the fact of the matter is we did. We had purchased seats in advance and made sure that there was a handicap cutout area, and yet we were treated like this. It's quite absurd, quite tragic, and that's why we have to fight. And it's not about me. It's about the millions and millions of people, some who never come out because they're afraid something like this might happen to them.
Bishop Barber, if you could give us a little history lesson on the American Disabilities Act, its origins, and what it's made possible for people across the country.
Well, you know, it actually tracks the Civil Rights Act of '64. You know, it flows out of that same legal theory, equal protection under the law. And it was bipartisan. Senator Tom Harkins actually introduced it. And interestingly, George Bush Sr. signed it in the 1990s. And basically, you know, people had to sit down in restaurants, had to refuse to move. They had to bring their whatever they used to be mobile, whatever they used to be accommodated, and they were arrested and sometimes beaten and kicked out and spit on, all kinds of things, but they refused to give up. They basically said, we are not going to be denied. And what the law says is a public business, and theaters are included in that. You know, anything that's public, you have to accommodate reasonably people. You cannot keep them from enjoying what the rest of the public enjoys simply because they have some form of a disability. You know, and there have been some tragic stories. Some years ago, a young man with Down syndrome was actually arrested and killed at a theater. He was asphyxiated and suffocated, all because people did not want to recognize his disability and treat him fairly.
Bishop Barber, why did you decide to leave with the police? Can you talk about what they threatened to do this day, the holiday? I mean, Color Purple Blue, other movies out of the waters, opened on Christmas Day, was filmed where you were in North Carolina, in the state of North Carolina. They were going to clear out the theater if you insisted on staying?
Exactly. The managers were insisting that. Now, you know, Sister Oprah did a tremendous with this job through this movie Fantasia. You know, Oprah, I've served on panels and that she's convened. But yes, the police, see, the manager said they said trespassing. And the police had to get involved because they made that call and made that accusation.
They're going to charge you with trespassing?
Charging with trespassing. Is that after I paid to be there. And they said that because I debated them, they described debating, and sure, I debate strong and hard when you're trying to take rights. I mean, that's what I do. And so if you are upset or angry or bothered, then somehow that's what made them so bothered that they wanted me out. They wanted me arrested for trespassing. Now the police literally kind of let me know they didn't even want to be there. But what they said is, if you don't leave, we're being told we have to clear this theater in order to arrest you. So I said, I cannot leave in good conscience. If you take me out, I'll go with you. I'm not going to resist arrest or risk. But you can. What the police did when they got me out, they left. They didn't even try to stay. They said, okay, fine, we don't really want to be here. Now, we were sitting on the outside, and a TV news station came, and we were talking to them. This manager came out with a security guard with a gun, saying we had to leave. I couldn't even stay and wait on my mother to come out. I had to leave her in the theater with an attendant. And a young girl who also has a disability. She has had epilepsy, and her mother. They wouldn't let me stay there. And then when we were leaving, the lady waved, like a taunting wave, as though she had won.
So Bishop, Bishop Barber, you met with the AMC CEO, Adam Aaron. He came to Greenville to meet with you. What were your demands of him?
Well, I can't say everything, but I can tell you we did not come to a resolution. We had a beginning conversation. and we agreed that some things need to be changed. He gave an apology, but as I said, apology is about action, because this is not about me personally. It's about me, but it's about bigger than me, because if you would touch me, who else will you touch? Who else will be affected negatively? We agreed to a second meeting. Hopefully we can really get down to the kinds of solution that needs to happen that can be quantified and concretized and measured. This is very serious business. It's very serious business. It is about the law. It is about our fundamental rights. I was glad that he came. I'm somewhat encouraged by him coming, but that was an initial conversation. And while I agreed to confidentiality, even my sense is that he received some distorted facts that I had to correct him. For instance, one of the things is very, very clear. When I finally went into the theater, I was stopped. They weren't even going to let me go in the theater to even access where I could sit or what could be accommodated. When I finally went in, I deliberately chose what I've chosen hundreds of other times, a cutout area that says handicap, that's designed for a chair, wheelchair, and was in a position to make sure that it wasn't bothering anybody, it wasn't in the aisle. I have sense enough to know you can't sit something in the aisle. But I sat that chair where I've sat it at Broadway and other theaters. And it was when I got inside that then they brought the police. So part of the other day was clarifying for him, really clear, because, his people have talked to him and distorted the record. But we've got hopefully another conversation, and we'll see after that one, where we are on this. But we cannot let this go, because it's too important to too many people. As I say, I think about the people who just every day say, I would go, but I'll just stay home. I'll just stay home.
Reverend Barber, we just have a second, but if you could talk about how you've used your own experience, your own health issues to draw attention to the lack of adequate health care for a lot of Americans.
Well, you have a certain empathy when you have it. I think every day I have health care, but what about people suffering from ankylosing that don't? 87 million people in this country are either uninsured or underinsured. I have some resources to even buy a chair or to see the doctor. But what about the more than 100+ million people who are poor and low wealth? Poverty is the fourth leading cause of death right now in this country. What about persons like that don't have an opportunity? I think your pain in life is supposed to make you more committed to standing with others, to serving with others, and to challenging systems of injustice. That pain should bring a certain empathy, a certain sympathy, and a certain kind of courage. Anytime, any day I want to quit or just stop, I look at people who are even in worse situations than me, and I say, you cannot stop simply because you have a challenge. And the fact of the matter is, historically, some of the people with the greatest challenges, one of our greatest presidents in this country had polio. Today, he probably couldn't get elected because people would be more focused on his chair than his heart and his mind. And that's tragic. It's one of our greatest civil rights leaders, Fannie Lou Hamer. Some people today wouldn't want her because she had a serious disability and polio. But thank God that she turned her pain into some kind of power. It didn't mean it didn't hurt and it wasn't frustrating.
Bishop Barber, we have to break now, but we're going to continue our discussion with you. And I just want to ask, did you ever get to see The Color Purple?
No.
Democracy Now! Is funded by viewers like you. Please give today at democracynow.org/give.